With League of Legends having consistently been one of the largest games in the world during its near 15 years of existence, it should come as no surprise that players have found countless ways to push the game to its absolute limits and set records that will be incredibly hard to break. Starting first with the longest professional game ever recorded that not only took an incredibly long amount of time, but also set multiple other records in the process. You see, during a matchup between SKT and Jin Air Green Wings during the first week of the LCK's 2018 Spring Split, the first game in this best of 3 series took 46 minutes, followed by an even longer 52-minute Game 2. However, these numbers would be nothing compared to the sheer amount of time that these two teams would spend duking it out on the Rift to determine the series victor headed into Game 3. As unsurprisingly, the deciding match of this series continued the series trend of uneventful early games, with the first major teamfight taking place over 30 minutes into the game with the scoreline sitting at just 3-2. But thankfully, as the game progressed and as SKT continued to grow their advantages, things appeared to finally be ending just shy of the previous game's 52 minutes. That is, until Jin Air managed to successfully defend their base against a sieging elder buffed SKT roster, which over the course of the next 30 minutes would happen again multiple times, eventually drawing the game out so long that the casters just began to have casual conversation with one another.
So how's your night going?
You know, it's taken some twists and turns I didn't see coming. I thought maybe getting some chicken wings tonight, but that was about 3 hours ago.
Yeah.
I have 6 days in a row starting from Tuesday. You know, that's pretty cool.
How many times has Jin Air played in that time span?
You know, too many times. Actually, it's more than 0.
But finally, after a whopping 93 minutes of gameplay, Faker of all players decided to recall the open as Kassadin, and luckily for Jin Air, Umpty's Kha'Zix was fast enough to expose this unusual carelessness, leading to him securing a crucial kill on the mid lane legend. And due to the game's incredibly long death timers by this point, ultimately allowing the Green Wings to finally close out the game in an insane 94 minutes and 35 seconds. However, as one may expect, this record wouldn't be the only one set as the result of such an exceptionally long-lasting match. As over the course of the game, there were 6 Elder Dragons killed, 9 Barons slain, and though there weren't too many kills to speak of, Jin Air's Teddy managed to farm 1,456 CS on Sivir, while SKT's Bang farmed 972 on Ezreal, both of which being the previous CS record of 946. But while we'll get into more pro play records a bit later, including the longest winning and losing streaks in professional league's history, let's first turn to the player with not only the highest mastery points on a single champion, but also the highest total mastery points in the world, the player from the Vietnamese server who currently goes by the in-game name of Comeback in 2040. Now, while some other top Teemo players already have absurdly high mastery scores on their own, with the numbers in the 9, 10, and even 11 millions range, this player currently has more points than the top 2 players on this list combined, with over a mind-boggling 23 million points on just the Swift Scout alone, which when you put that into perspective is almost unreal. Because assuming you earn on average around 500 mastery points or so a game, you would need to have played roughly 47,000 games on the champion, and assuming the average game time takes around 25 minutes to play out, that means that this Teemo One Trick has spent approximately 815 days straight of his life playing just this champion alone, which there's no other way to describe that as other than just crazy. And on top of that, as already mentioned, this has resulted in him having the most mastery points on all champions combined, with just over 26 million points in total. And if you're wondering where this much game time places you on the ranked ladder, he currently averages between high platinum and low emerald, which is honestly pretty respectable. Though it takes some real skill to have the most pentakills in pro play history, and incredibly, the player who holds this title over every professional player, both active and retired, is one who you may not be familiar with, as his enemy slaying performances have actually all occurred within League's Vietnamese region, the VCS. As with the fitting in-game name of Celebrity, this veteran player has even racked up more pentakills than the likes of fellow bot lane legends Doublelift and Reckless, with an outstanding 11 professional pentakills over the course of 7 years. And for additional context on how high that number really is, if you were to take every pentakill recorded in the history of longtime Korean titan Gen G and combine them together, it would still fall short of this insane number achieved by just this one player. But though that was a nice quick fact to mix things up, on the topic of speeding through things that pertain to League, we have not one but rather 2 candidates for what could be considered the fastest professional game in League history, with the first coming from way back in 2012 during day 1 of IEM Singapore in a match between Armageddon and the Kuala Lumpur Hunters. You see, after scoring a very quick first blood during a level 1 invade by KLH, by utilizing their team's very dive heavy comp, they were able to quickly grow themselves a nice solid early lead, thanks in part to pretty much just treating Taichi's Darius jungle as no more than a moving camp, killing him time and time again as their carries began to snowball even harder. And by eventually opting to group as a unit in mid lane, KLH's significantly accelerated composition of high damage champions was now able to much more quickly wipe their opposition off the map, allowing them to handily siege the enemy nexus and finish the game in an astonishing 11 minutes and 46 seconds, a record that has stood for going on 12 years. But with that said, there is technically a professional game that has ended in an even faster amount of time, though whether it should actually count for the record or not is up to personal interpretation, as it really wasn't much of a game to begin with, as during an LTL match between Top Hard Esports and another troll team, things didn't exactly go as planned. Now, despite their ironically fitting name, another troll team was in fact a legitimate roster that fully intended on playing just standard League of Legends. However, due to connectivity issues from their ADC taking too long to resolve, they were forced to play the game out as a 4v5. And knowing that they had no realistic way of winning the game, they opted to pull out strategies such as flanking Nami and base defense Lucian, as Top Hard continued to tear through their bottom lane until ultimately breaking the Nexus in a blazingly quick 7.5 minutes. However, regardless of which of these two matches can be considered as the true fastest loss in professional league history, returning back to one of the scene's most dominant regions, let's take a look at the latest first blood ever in a professional match, which not only did it have an insane ending, but funnily enough, it also involves some familiar faces. Now, while there have of course been games in recent memory that have come close to touching this record, such as Damwon's 34-minute first blood against Bro in 2022, when it comes to the masters of drawing out games, we once again find ourselves turning back to the LCK 2018 spring split in a match between Kingzone Dragon X and who else but the familiar lineup of Jin Air, who once again found themselves constantly on the back foot of this heavily macro-oriented bout, as Dragon X managed to acquire Baron buff, Elder buff, and several turrets, all without picking up a single kill in the process. However, ironically enough, it would actually be Jin Air's mid laner Grace who finally managed to break the icing kills at a ridiculous marker of 39 minutes into the game by landing an impressively long range Zoe Paddlestar, and this wasn't even the only crazy thing to happen during the game, as Jin Air found themselves involved in yet another nail-biting finish just a couple weeks after their recent thriller against SKT. After claiming Baron from under the nose of Dragon X, Jin Air finally used their teen siege comp to barrel down mid lane and managed to score themselves a sudden yet crucial pick on Dupre's Ezreal, turning the game into a 4v5 for the next minute and giving the team the confidence to press on. But despite these advantages, Dragon X postured confidently in standing their ground and showing they certainly weren't afraid of taking a fight, as the deciding play of this game came down to the wire.
Down Kingzone, so extraordinarily low, the Nexus is now exposed, the Jin Air Green Wings, could they do it? The Gnar backwards, Umpty's just trying to create space to get the auto attacks in there, but
So
no,
what?
it's a triple kill coming in! Can they get the autos though? Lick it to death, Wraith! Lick it to death! No, they're not going to be able to do it! It's a quadra kill for BDD, and they hold on to their Nexus!
And unsurprisingly, off the back of this play, Kingzone Dragon X managed to take down the Nexus and keep their winning streak alive and well, but when it comes to Korean players winning, we of course needn't look further than the man himself, Faker, who holds the most Worlds wins by any player in the game's history. As while there are a handful of players with 2 Worlds wins under their belt, as well as Faker's former teammate Bengi, who has an immensely prestigious 3 trophies to his name, during just this past year at Worlds 2023, Faker managed to reclaim the throne on home turf, lifting the Summoner's Cup for the 4th time in his career, which came 7 years after his most recent victory at the tournament, this time guiding his teammates out of a rocky regular season and through the LPL gauntlet that faced them on their road to sweeping through Weibo Gaming in the finals. And with this roster sticking around for yet another year, it is entirely possible to see a world in which Faker can maybe add a 5th trophy to his case, as ultimately T1's history-defining presence at international tournaments feels all but inevitable by this point. But if you want to see a real winning streak, look no further than the absolute dominance held by Taiwanese organization Flash Wolves and their insanely impressive performance, which in 2017 would grant them the longest winning streak in professional league history. Now, even though they would first come to be recognized by the rest of the world as a surprisingly decent team as a result of their solid performances at both Worlds 2015 and MSI 2016, for anyone who watched the LMS 2017 spring split, they would know that this team was simply a cut above the rest of the region, as their showing in the regular season remains unmatched unmatched even to this day. As the way that the League Master Series formatted their splits involved each team playing in 14 best-of-3 series, with the top teams eventually qualifying to the end of season playoffs. And despite losing their first game against AHQ in their first series of the year, from then on the Flash Wolves not only managed to win all 14 regular season best-of-3s, but did so by sweeping 2-0 in each one, resulting in a win streak of 28 games straight that would only be ended in the finals once again by AHQ. However, for every longest winning streak, there is of course a team with the longest losing streak, and unfortunately this title falls on the shoulders of one of the most memorable teams in League's history, Invictus Esports. You see, after selling their entire roster the previous year in hopes that another team would buy out their slot in the now suspended Russian LCL League, when no one claimed this position and the organization still needed to field a roster, they opted to pull an incredibly unexpected move by bringing in an all-female team, a first in the game's professional history. But while fans were of course initially excited to see women finally being placed at a competitive level only previously reached by men, things unfortunately went downhill incredibly quickly, as it became clear that this team was more of a gimmick than an actually competitive lineup. And for context on what I mean when I say that things went downhill quickly, in their second game after joining the league, they lost a game 52-2 in terms of kills, and it took them 12 games to destroy their first turret, both of which are so bad that regular players have honestly probably been banned for less. As this lack of performance unsurprisingly resulted in the team going 0-34 until they were finally disqualified from professional play. However, if you're looking to cleanse your palate with some of the best plays in Pro League history and enjoyed this video, you should check out our list of 9 times Faker impressed the world. This has been Simply Spent with Silver Scrapes. Thanks for watching and take care.